Hi there, good afternoon, and welcome to our session on verbal ability. So, if you're a CAT 2024 aspirant, or if you are somebody who is writing the upcoming exams like the ZAT or the Maharashtra CET or the CMAT, then this and you're struggling with Para Jumbles, then this is a session that you will find useful. But I'm primarily targeting people who are focusing on 24, just about starting their preparation, and thus this becomes a very crucial, very important question type for all of us. And that is because Para Jumbles have always been a part of the CAT, barring a year or two. And even in those years when Para Jumbles were not there, the CAT people ensured that there was some other paragraph based question type available. So it is that important a question type or a question area for us when it comes to the exams. So let's dive into this deeper. But before that, if you're new here, I welcome you to BYJU'S Exam Prep channel, and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon. We conduct tons of free sessions at this platform. If you have not turned the notifications on, chances are that you would actually miss out on quite a few of those. My name is Vikrant. I am your personal coach for all things related to English and communication skills. I also dive into the psychological aspects of preparation, which in my opinion are as important as any of the other topics that we go ahead and cover. And that is why I in fact start every session of mine with a bit of a thought that is meant to address the psychological aspect. For example, check this. So the two most important requirements for major success are, first, being in the right place at the right time, and second, doing something about it. So we at times believe that it is luck that puts us at the right place, in the right place at the right time. But the truth is, we create those opportunities through consistent effort. Yes, luck does play a role. I'm not discounting it completely, but that luck, a large chunk of those opportunities can actually be created through being prepared for those opportunities and through networking, or as some people actually say, that your network is your net worth. And in fact, one of the reasons why getting into a Premier B school is that impactful, that important, is because you actually get a fabulous network as well. Hi Harshad, Meghna, Akhil. Harshad, what's up? Good to see you here. Okay, so with that, let's dive into our topic of the day, which is Para Jumbles. So what is the right approach to Para Jumbles? I see a lot of people who solve Para Jumbles intuitively. When they arrange those sentences, if you were to ask them why they have opted for a particular arrangement, their answer typically is that, it feels right, it appears or seems right. And those of you who are absolutely new, I'm sorry, I forgot, when you're still in the thick of the exams, you at times tend to skip. So Para Jumbles is a very regular fixture of various B school exams. In this question type, the examiner gives us a few sentences, usually from the same paragraph, but those sentences are jumbled. So in essence, we are given a jumbled paragraph where the various sentences given to you are not in the right order. What is our job? Our job is to discover the most logical way of arranging these sentences. So to that extent, I will say that you can even call it paragraph formation for that matter, because that's the job that we are asked to do. And this is a question type that actually relies on a lot of different abilities. So when we talk about Para Jumbles, you obviously require comprehension, because you need to understand every sentence. You need to have a decent bit of comfort level with grammar, because quite a few of those clues that are scattered around that help you arrange those sentences can actually be driven by grammar. And then of course it also in a way tests your logic or your reasoning. So all of these things. So you work on each one of these areas: comprehension, grammar, logic, and along with that you learn the right technique, the right approach, and you are generally good to go. Okay, so that's basically the game. So how do we approach it if we are not supposed to approach it intuitively? So here is how I go about it. So we are given usually 4 sentences. So you are supposed to read all those 4 sentences actively. Now, what do I mean by actively? By actively, I mean that when you read those sentences, you are being mindful of, you are being aware of the various clues that are scattered around in each one of those 4 sentences. Okay, and when you read these sentences, you may have this urge, this tendency, this temptation to look for the opening sentence, but I would actually argue against it. I'd say that don't look for the opening sentence, and the reason is the only way to figure out the opening sentence is that instinct or that intuition. I have nothing against it, but then the truth is we cannot use reasoning for it, and your intuition may not be foolproof, and thus let's not even bother about it. So if you're not supposed to look for the opening, look for the ending, what are you supposed to do? I would say that you identify sequences or mandatory pairs. So by sequence, what I mean is that you may see a clue that tells you that, hey, sentence number 1 must come after sentence number 3. So that is a sequence. Or you may have some clues that tell you that 3 and 1 must be kept together. So you've managed to identify a mandatory pair. So your job is to figure out these sequences or these mandatory pairs with the help of clues, and the clues can be word based. There are some words or some expressions in the sentence that can help you connect that sentence with some other sentence, or those clues can be idea based. So obviously every sentence gives you some idea, and ideas are also supposed to follow a certain sequence in a given context. That's where that logic part, your understanding of how the world works, comes into picture. And thereafter, if you are writing an exam where para jumbles are a multiple choice question, for example, that para jumbles are multiple choice questions, so you use the elimination approach. So in elimination approach, what you do is that the moment you figured out a sequence, let's say 1 after 3, go to the answer choices and see any option where 1 is before 3, you eliminate it. After that, if you're left with just one answer, your question is solved here. On the other hand, if you're still left with more than one answer, you move back to the paragraph, the para jumble, you pick up another clue, figure out another sequence, other mandatory pair, and then come back and start eliminating. On the other hand, if it is an exam like the CAT where para jumbles are non-MCQs, then obviously you will not be able to use the elimination approach, then you have to use the selection approach, and that is why this asterisk. You won't be able to use it in every exam, right? So let's go ahead, solve a few questions together, and hopefully that will give us a deeper pointer. So here are the directions that we typically get in para jumbles. Okay, so you typically given 4 sentences. They are labeled 1, 2, 3 and 4. When they are properly sequenced, they would yield a coherent paragraph. Decide on the proper sequence of the order of or the order of those sentences, and then key in the sequence. So right now I'm going to use non-MCQs. Even if you're preparing for that, it's okay, just go ahead, solve these, and hopefully they'll give you certain clues, certain pointers. With that, here is your question 1. What do you think the answer should be? Take your time. The moment I get a couple of answers, a couple of responses, I'll go ahead and share it. Okay. So when I read these, you notice we're talking about, look at third, not exactly, but the reason the tickets cost so much. How much? It needs to come prior to this. And similarly, if you look at fourth, it says for that money. Which money? So both of these are referring to the price of the tickets, which is given in first. So I can tell you that third should come after first, fourth should come after first. And when you look at third, third starts with not exactly. So right before this, you need to have a sentence that allows you to justify not exactly. And the only sentence that can do that is for. Notice fourth says, do you get hand-fed, gold-coated caviar and have your feet massaged by a supermodel for that money? Say not exactly. Not exactly. You're not going to get those things. So that allows you to put 4 and 3 together. So we know one has to come before. So there you go. And all of these tickets are for a Bruce Springsteen show. So this has to come before. And therefore, the best sequence should be 2, 1, 4, 3. All of you have actually figured out that 2 will come before the rest of the sentences. So it's only 3, 4 versus 4, 3. And if you want to justify the use of not exactly, you need to have 4 before 3. Okay. So if you put, for instance, some of us have put 1 before 3. 1 ends with prices that have triggered a backlash and angry headlines. When you say not exactly, then you're denying it. Then you're saying that, hey, there is no backlash, there are no angry headlines. But then the paragraph does not support it. The paragraph tells you there is a backlash, there are angry headlines. So it's only the fourth that can be denied, and therefore 4, 3, and therefore 2, 1, 4, 3. Okay, so just keep looking for these clues and you definitely nail it. Here is the next one. Question number 2 on your screen. Go ahead, read these, take your time, and then tell me what you think. Okay. Arshad, I think I agree with you except for the placement of one of these sentences. The rest is all right. So one of these clues is very subtle. I think we can very easily figure out that 2 should come before 1 and 3, and the reason is 1 says the new book, 3 says it, and the new book is mentioned in 2. So 2 should definitely come before 1 and 3. Now the question shifts to what should the sequence of 1 and 3 be? Now see, if I write 2, 1, 3, it's all right, nothing wrong with it, but then you notice what's happening. If I write 2 plus 1, I am unlikely to use the term the new book. I'll simply use it. If I use 2 plus 1, I will just use it. Why would I write the new book? So on the other hand, if I do 2 plus 3, I see this it here. But then after this it, there is another book that is talked about. And then now if you put in 1, using the new book is justified, because now if you use it, there will be a confusion whether we are referring to imperial twilight or autumn in the heavenly kingdom. And therefore, using that entire phrase, the new book, makes sense. And therefore, going by this, that in 1 he has used the new book instead of it, I will prefer 2, 3 and 1. Now the question is, where does 4 go? Now 2, 3 and 1 are all talking about imperial twilight. So 4 should not be inserted in between because it will break that coherence. So 4 can come at the beginning, 4 can come at the end. Which one of these two locations should we choose for it? So if I put 4 at the beginning, it says that okay, Westerners had this fascination with the Opium War. So now imagine if you are somebody who is fascinated by the Opium War, then I can give you a book recommendation. That makes sense. On the other hand, if I put 4 at the end, I've already given you a book recommendation that talks about the Opium War. But why would I put it afterwards? I have no justification for it there. I have some justification for it when it comes at the beginning, where people are fascinated. Here is a great book recommendation. So I'll say a lot of people around this time of the year resolve to improve their health and take up a gym subscription. So may I recommend that you join XYZ gym, which is likely to have a branch close to your house, and then I can tell you how that particular chain is superior to the other chains. On the other hand, if I say, hey, join XYZ, the branch of XYZ gym which is likely to be close to your house, and then say around this time people think of joining a gym, their New Year resolution, that's abrupt. It does not make sense. I don't have any justification for it there. And that is why in this context, I will prefer putting 4 before and not after, which would lead to 4, 2, 3 and 1. Okay. Here is your next question. Go ahead and dive into this. kids tunes. What did I share in the approach? We don't think of the opening or the end. So this is one of those tricky questions which is designed to trap all those who think in terms of the opening sentence. So you may look at 3 and like, it was a beautiful notion. Where does this go? What does this it refer to? So what does the it refer to? Then fourth starts with but. So I think considering that 3 and 4 give you some rather solid clues, that should lead to a fairly broad understanding of these 3. Yeah, so 1 plus 3 because of that it. Fantastic. Then but shows contrast. So it needs to come after what? 1 and 3. You need to put in something which is opposite. 2 is not opposite. 2 already tells you it cannot be a true account of the facts, and then fourth gives you the true account. So how 2 and 4 are not contrasting? So if you need to put 4 anywhere, it has to be immediately after 1 and 3. Or in reality, if I rejig it, if I read it as 3, 1, 4, this is even better. Check this. It was a beautiful notion. And then the notion. You remember, it can also be used to introduce things. This is a fabulous novel called The Tale of Two Cities. The first line is, it was the best of the times, it was the worst of the times. So nothing unusual. But if I compare 3 plus 4 and 1 plus 4, you realize 1 plus 4 is better. Because 1 tells you each planet orbited, and 4 says, but as we know, the planets do not orbit the Earth but the Sun. So 1 plus 4 will make it even better. And then you can always end it. 2 can be a continuation of 4. So in the words of Aristotle, what you see here is basically the idea presented in 1 and 4 in a different way, particularly the idea presented in 4. So there were 2 likely contenders here for me, 1342 and 3142, out of which, because I know that it can start and 1 and 4 are better contrasts, 1 and 4 is going to be a better justification for this, but I will prefer 3142 over 1342. See, second contradicts what is given in 3 and 1, or 1 and 3, whichever way you were thinking. So because 4 brings in that but, you know, that but will bring in that contrast, that will make it coherent, and then you can put 2 afterwards. Right? So that's question number 3. And with that, let's dive into our next question. Here it is on the screen for you. After that mighty tricky question, here is fourth. Okay, Meghna, that was quick. So here is first. First uses in fact. I want you to think it over. In fact is used for reiterating. In fact gives you a similar idea to the one that was presented in the sentence before. It gives you something that supports what came before. So, in fact, childhood is the period of life in which we spend the most time wondering. You're looking for something similar that first can go on to support even more, and that has to be 2. And therefore, and then if you look at this but, it contrasts, it states the opposite of 3. So 3, 2 and 1 come together. Where does 4th go? It cannot come at the beginning, because the theme by now is, hey, people think children are not really able to understand philosophy, but then they do. They get the basis from there. And therefore the best place for 4th is at the end, and thus 3, 2, 1, 4. So whenever we miss out on any sequence, it is basically because we missed out on identifying a clue or two and we could not appreciate the role that the clue played. Here is one more question for you, a fairly longish one. So take your time, read it thoroughly, and then we will discuss this. So clues, clues, clues. Look at this. This period, these movements, some of these. So this period is 1960s and 70s, has to come after this. So 3 plus 4. Then gave rise to numerous new movements. So 1 and 2 definitely come after 4. The question is, what should their order be? So if you look at 1, it talks about plenty of these movements were associated with young people, especially young counter-cultural people with suspicious politics. So he's saying that some of these movements took political tenor. But then if you look at 2, we're not talking about any political tenor. So if 2 comes after 1, we need to go ahead and talk about political tenor, because now some of these will refer to the ones that are mentioned in 1, but there is no flow here. On the other hand, if I put 2 first, so some of these were Christian in nature, others were heavily influenced by pop cultural ubiquity, etc. And then plenty of these movements were associated with young people. Then first can be used as a subset of 2, and therefore 2-1 will be better. If we combine all of these together, we will get, and I'm writing it up here, 3, 4, 2 and 1 as our answer. So not 1-2 but 2-1, that probably was the only catch here, and if you could deal with that, I'm sure things would have been like significantly simpler. So in short, please treat Para Jumbles as a puzzle, okay, and practice some of these every day. So when you pick up a puzzle, is it necessary for you to solve it immediately? No. There are times when you're able to solve, puzzle after puzzle because things click. And then there are times when you're stuck on a puzzle for a day or two, and then you take help, you use hints. So that's how I want you to approach Para Jumbles moving forward. Pick up one Para Jumble every day. If you're able to solve it, great. Pick up another. You're able to solve it, great. Pick up another. Don't pick up more than 5. But when you're stuck on a particular question, do not be in haste. Read the sentences once again. See, is there a clue that you missed out on? Is there a connection that eludes you? Is there an idea that you're not able to connect? Sleep on it, and then hopefully it will come to you. Okay, so that's it from me today. If you liked working with me, please don't forget to like this particular video, and you can unlock your 3-day free trial to experience our sessions. And if you like them, we have our CAT 24 batches open. I'd absolutely be delighted to see you in one of our batches there, so that I can help you produce great results like some of our previous students. So that's it from me today. Until I see you next, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch, and keep working hard. Do not allow yourself to slack, except for maybe 31st and 1st, you're partying, right? So have a great day ahead, and I'll see you really soon.